So why you should play the Sorcerer in Diablo 4? In this video I'm going to talk about just that, give you 10 reasons why you should pick it up. Keep in mind, although it's not my top favorite class, and it's okay by the way to change your mind. It doesn't mean that if you stick around with the class when the game is out, maybe I can convince you to switch to the Sorcerer. Maybe. Let's give it a shot. Now, although we can expect things to be changed and balanced, one thing I can assure you, when I played the beta, the Sorcerer was the easiest one early game. I mean, the strongest one. Everything was so easy with the Sorcerer compared to any other class, by far. It's amazing, I was just zapping around and limiting enemies without even thinking about it, without even them getting close to me in most part. And I actually told myself, speaking to myself, saying, this is totally broken. How they made a class so powerful and the other ones much less. I mean, of course it varies, but overall I was surprised how powerful it was early game. And the thing that it doesn't even get stale, you actually get stronger than that the more you progress. So it's very strong early game, but also very strong, well, at least I got to level 20 in the previous beta and level 30 before that. Still, it was very, very powerful. Now, I think not many will doubt that the Sorceress has the coolest and most beautiful visual effects of their spellcasting in the entire game. Although it also shares some of the beautiful effects with the Druid with some of the spells, it just looks gorgeous. When the Sorcerer is around, you can't miss it. Everything just glows with visual effects and it just brighten up the scene and just look beautiful and enjoyable to cast spells. And things become even more prominent because Diablo 4 now is more gloomy and dark, especially in dungeons. What you see here, you can see the visual effects are absolutely stunning. So if this is something that really kind of ticks you, the Sorcerer is that class to go with. Now, the Sorcerer features different elemental damage types. This includes fire, for example, cold, and lightning. And although personally lightning is my favorite one when it comes to visual effects we talked about just before, I really enjoy freezing enemies. Now, your cold spells can slow and eventually freeze enemies. And I think it's just such an amazing thing when everything just goes crazy around you, or there's a big enemy, if you could just apply a lot of cold spells and eventually just freeze enemies in place. And trust me, there will be situations where you guys say thank you that those actually enemies not attacking you and you have time to manage other things altogether while enemies are frozen. I also think that it's going to be great to have a Sorcerer in the team because of these abilities. The ability to freeze is buy more time for your teammates to do whatever they like to do. And again, just freezing enemies in place, it just means 0 damage from them, right? So it's crazily good, very, very useful. And you can even go with several Sorcerers to even increase the time that it takes to decrease the time that it takes to actually freeze enemies. And because it's part of your kit, this type of for example, cold, it won't become, instead of dealing damage, you're going to deal damage and enjoy these benefits at the same time. So overall, very powerful CC, crowd control abilities, and also it's going to be very useful when playing in a group. Now, the Sorcerer is great for those who love playing a wizard world. They prefer playing spellcasting rather than something, close combat or melee. Now, based on my experience, I felt that the Sorcerer is also one that is more oriented towards more attack type of spells rather than defensive, although it has that as well. And as I said before, the defense comes in many of the spells part of, first of all, the playstyle, which you stay a bit far from enemies and try to maybe put your pets, as you can see here, like the Hydras, or is part of the core kit, where you, for example, use a spell to freeze enemies and slow them down. So if you don't like, very defensive oriented type of spells and you prefer being aggressive, lots of damage, but still enjoying good benefits of defensive capabilities as part of those spells as well, the Sorcerer is a really good class for that. Now, the next one is amazing. This is called an Enhancement mechanic, and basically you use certain skills and you get, if you put them in the enhancement, you won't be able to use the skill, but you get a passive in place. Now keep in mind, you need to have at least one skill point available for that, otherwise you can't use it. Now you can see it here when I go to skill assignment. At the bottom you can see enhancements, and then I can choose which skill I want to. You can use ultimate, and I can assign the skill and enjoy a certain passive instead of that. You can see the next one unlocks at level 30. Now also keep in mind it also takes into account your enhancement and upgrades. So the passive can become even better when you further enhance into that skill in the skill tree. And here are just two examples. For example, using the Frostbolt or the Spark. Another thing I like the Sorcerer, they feel like semi-automatic. I don't really need to do a lot. Look at the chain lighting skill. You just zap into enemies, goes and eats some of the things that you can break in the world, and it just makes everything just so easy. Just zapping enemies, it automatically travels between the enemies. It's nuts. And aside from that, of course, you have your Hydras, your pads, and you can deal damage from far away, and the Hydras deal automatically shooting enemies from both close and far. It makes playing with the Sorcerer like really very easy. Sometimes I feel like it was very close to an auto-clicker. To be honest, it was very easy. You just click and all enemies are just poof, gone. I think it's also the most approachable and easiest to use among all the classes. Great for beginners. Alright, now this is not fully tested, but this is about immunity. Now I tested the Sorcerer with the Flame Shield. As you can see here, critical strikes have a 5% chance to reset the cooldown of one of your defensive skills. Can only happen every 10 seconds. But you can, I got a situation where I can actually spam it, because I can further reduce the cooldowns, and it happens so frequently that I have a feeling that if it stays, the Sorcerer will have one of the best defensive capabilities in Diablo 4. And I actually just showcased quickly here in the video, Flame Shield give you basically immunity, and again, if I can spam it, I can be immune for a long time, and I have a feeling that further down the road it can be even better. So we can see at the bottom, when I spam it, they see that it's on cooldown. Now it's reset, and I can use it again straight away because I can reduce my cooldown. I actually made a video about it on my channel, and I showcased how frequent I can actually use it. Every few seconds, like 2 seconds, I use it. 5 seconds, I use it. Of course, it's for several seconds, right? The time I get immunity. So basically, I can be immune for a long period of time, and I think that down the road, if it's not patched, it's going to be like continuous immunity, and nothing can hit you. But of course, if something get to that, it will be patched, and I think, well, this will probably tone down. But I have a feeling that in the game still, with what we have so far, you have a chance to become immune for a very long time using this type of combination, but we need to wait and see when the game comes out. But when it comes to defensive capabilities, it was very strong. You can see it, 20 seconds, right? Poof, I get it again, I can do it again. It's crazy. And of course, it will last for several seconds. Anyway, just watch for it. I'm going to make a video about it when the game is released. Hopefully, it will stay like that. Probably want more about that, so let's take a look. I'm activating it now, alright? I'm immune during this. Now I'm not immune. And now I can activate it again, alright? I didn't activate here, but I can, alright? A few seconds later. I mean, like 2 seconds later after I got immune. Again, you see, I'm now immune, not immune, and now I can activate it again 2 seconds later. Now, although not shown here, I tested the Sorcerer, and it has the longest dash. It's not really the dash, the default dash, but basically in this case of the Sorcerer, it's a teleport that allows you to really teleport anywhere you put your cursor on the screen. This means a very, very long dash, which is longer than all the others that I tested. I mean, for example, the Rogue has the dash skill, which allows them to dash forward and slash enemies for damage. The Barbarian has a leap skill and a charge skill that allows them to leap towards enemies with a slam down attack, dealing damage. The Druid has a shred skill that also, if you upgrade it, it allows you to dash onto enemies. You can really dash into empty space, but allows you to dash through enemies, but not that far. So compared to all the others, and again, ignoring the default dash, this is by far like the longest one that I actually was able to make with all of the classes. So this is great. You can really disengage with the combat completely if you like, or engage and initiate like that, and just traverse. But keep in mind, it has a longer cooldown compared to the other, and you also do have the default dash as well. And I think the last thing is just the Sorcerer is just fun to play. I think many of that related to his, the way it's much easier to control, kind of less micromanagement, especially compared to the Druid, by the way, with some of its mechanic. So I think compared to the other classes, it just felt more streamlined. I think in general, you really enjoy seeing enemies draw fast, right? Everybody wants to see that in the classes. And it just felt, at least, from the, level that we got to play at level 25, that it was the case with the Sorcerer. It was just a breeze playing it. And all of that Consider, of course, we have the paths. And I think all of that together led to the Sorcerer being one of the most fun classes to play. And I'm not surprised when I actually heard or read, to be surprised, this was posted on Twitter, by the way, that, as you can see on the left, most played classes Sorcerer and Necromancer. I can also understand why people like auto-clickers. People like this semi-automatic play, sometimes automatic. It's just, again, in classes that feel easy, and of course, from all the other reasons that I mentioned, I'm not surprised that the Sorcerer and the Necromancer were the most fun classes to play. And yeah, so overall, these are the top 10 reasons why you should play the Sorcerer. I don't need to convince probably a lot of you, because many players will probably go with the Sorcerer, but for those who don't, who go with the other classes, maybe you're gonna convince to at least try the Sorcerer, and or maybe go with as the first class to play when the game is released. So let me know in the comment section below if you are convinced, if you not those of you already of course plan to play it, and if you find other reasons why you prefer playing the Sorcerer over all the other classes. Let me know in the comment section below, let's discuss it there. Thanks for watching. Consider also subscribing to my channel, lots of more content coming, Diablo 4, make sure to subscribe, see you in the next one, cheers.